G'day and welcome to my channel. Again, my name's Gavin for the Homebrew Network. Today we're going to talk about these new diversion plates. That's partly my fault, and that's my fault too, but we'll have a look. G'day. I might use different terminology than what Kegland used for these things, but yeah, I only just saw that they'd released the news about these diversion plates, I'm calling them. It's probably very wrong, but that might be the same name they're using. I don't know, but it's kind of my fault. And these bends in the feet. I've been testing them now for a few weeks. I've had the 35 litre one, I don't know, 3 or 4 brews by now. And if you've seen me brew in the 65 litre, I've also used it in that a couple of times as well. Mine, when you look at mine are the first models, just a flat piece of steel. When they eventually get released, they are likely to be more shaped to the bottom. But I've found the flat works pretty well as well. Now, if you've seen the Kegland video, he does talk about it a fair bit. And it's a long video, so some people, I know, don't watch the whole of videos, so they might have missed it. And Key talks a lot about the speed of heating, that it heats up the heat side of it. My problem was the cooling side. So if you watched my 4 brews on the Gen 4, and the last one was a 4-step step mash, what was happening was it'd overshoot the temperature, and then it'd sit at that overshot temperature for ages. It wouldn't cool down. And first, when I thought about it, I sent a picture to Kegland, and these feet at the time were flat. And I thought maybe I had the foot, because the temperature probe's right on the edge of the Gen 4s. And I thought maybe, you know, that flat foot was right next to the probe and it was holding down heat. And I was nearly getting scorching under it just from, you know, grain dust and it sitting on the element. So they thought, oh, we'll bend it up. So that's my fault that they've had to redesign the feet. But I think it's made a difference. And I don't get those sort of, as I said, mine didn't scorch. But if I noticed some people, and it doesn't matter what system they have, I don't know whether it's their water or the way their electricity works where they live, they do get scorching sometimes on their elements, and that will stop the feet, at least, you know, a bit of it, and stop it happening under the feet. And also help with the flow of wort around. Sorry, delivery truck just went by. Now what this plate does is, as the wort comes through the mash tun, a lot of it, especially now since it's a centre drain, can just go straight down from the mash pipe. You know, it doesn't even go onto the elements or anywhere near the temperature probe, down the hole in the middle and then up the top. So you're really struggling to heat that wort or even get a correct temperature from that wort. There will, of course, be some that goes around the edges, but you know, a lot of it could go straight down and not be heated or touch the temp probe. So that's another reason I think mine was staying hot. So what this diversion plate does is, as the wort comes through, it still comes through from the mash pipe exactly the same as it always would. It goes through the false bottom, I call it. Kegland call it something else, a pump protector I think they call it. But that's a false bottom to me. As it goes through there, it's forced to go around, you know, it can't get through that plate. There's a gap of 2 washers. There's 2 washers in the middle to hold the false bottom up off that plate. And that plate just forces the wort, once it's gone through there, to go around the edges. So that does 2 things. It makes it go past the temperature probe, and it also makes it go past the elements. Trucks. As soon as I start recording. And in all the testing I've done, as I said, there's probably 6 batches. It's made a huge difference. And as I say, Keegan was talking about the heating faster. Well, my problem was the cooling. Not that I wanted the wort to cool, but the probe was thinking the wort was hotter than it was. So it's forcing, you know, you're pumping up hot wort from the bottom off the elements, and the colder wort that's in the mash tun comes down to get heated, But unless it gets near that probe, the probe's not going to know that it needs to heat again. So the cooler wort from the mash comes down, goes around the edge of this, down past the temperature probe, and that's the important thing. And so you see the temperature probe temperature on the display drop much faster. So then once it drops down below where you've got it set, it can start heating again. And that's why I wanted it done. And I didn't design this, but I can guarantee you it was from my whinging, and that's why they sent out the test plates to me to test. And I appreciate that. Thanks, Kegland. I will leave a link down below to the Kegland video, so you go and have a look. It is a long video, goes into a few other things we can briefly talk about now. There's my 65 litre it's just the same. But these are special made ones for me that were just made here, not the mass produced ones. They'll be a little bit different, but not much different. And that's why when I was testing them, I was telling my friends, I couldn't say much about it, but all I was saying is, don't worry, if you buy, a Gen 4, this upgrade I was guessing it would be under $20, and I think Key was saying in his video $10 to $15 maybe, and that's about right, I think. If you're just doing single infusion mashes, one step, you might not want it, because you can do the mash and then the mash out quite easily. This is more for, more complicated steps. The other thing which you might have seen me do a YouTube short for last week, I think it was the Bluetooth thermometer. He goes over how to use it. It's pretty simple. It's another Bluetooth device, and if you've seen my video on how to connect a pill to your temperature controller, it's exactly the same. You turn on Bluetooth in the settings of your Gen 4 wrapped, whatever it happens to be, whatever you're using it in. It could even be the fridge if you wanted, but the temperature controller or your Brewzillas, turn on the Bluetooth. You'll find this in the unbonded section in the settings, and then you just bond it to this. You go back to the settings and set it so it's running from this one and not the internal probe, and you're all set. What I will do is I'll do a couple of short videos, so if you ever forget, you can come back and watch those short videos and you don't have to go through Kegland's long one or even this longer one. I'll do a couple of really short ones just to explain a few things. So I can tell you now, if you have the Bluetooth temperature in the mash plus the addition of that plate down the bottom, it really helps speed up those temperature changes and getting to where you want to be. If you're doing single infusion, get your strike temperature right and you won't have to worry anyway. You probably don't need these other things. The other thing I wanted to mention today is about my Twitch streams. And people might be going, why are you live streaming on Twitch and not on YouTube? I've been live streaming for well over 10 years. Every Friday night. I only miss maybe some years 2 or 3 Friday nights, some years maybe 5 or 6 Friday nights, but for those 10, 11, 12 years, whatever I've been doing it for, at least once a week I stream. It used to be even 2 or 3 times a week, and again now, probably 2 or 3 times a week. But I started on a platform called JTV. You might remember the 17 Brew crew I was part of, and Craig Tube, and everyone used to stream on JTV. Now JTV started Twitch, and Twitch was like where JTV was, a social sort of site, talking and stuff like that. They started Twitch as a side project for the gamers. And everyone, well, most people know what's happened to Twitch since then. It's got huge, massive, it's been bought out, and it's just huge in the gaming world, and all the young kids watch it. Now the reason I stopped using JTV years ago was because of copyright. We play a lot of music on our casts, and we were getting stopped midstream if we played something from Warner Brothers or that was copyrighted. They'd cut us off, then we'd have to apply and try and get our accounts back, and it all just got a little bit too hard. And most of us shifted over to Vaughan Live TV, which we've probably been there for about 5 or 6 years. Now I've decided to go back. Vaughan Live doesn't have Australian servers, and sometimes it was a real struggle for my viewers to watch. More delivery vans. So I've gone back to Twitch because JTV doesn't exist anymore. Once Twitch got so big, JTV just sort of folded. So I'm back on Twitch. I'll leave a link below. As I said, most Friday nights we do talk about beer. If you want to talk about something live, we talk about beer. I play a lot of music, mostly the heavier stuff on my channel. And the other nights during the week, sometimes we just talk beer and have a few beers. Sometimes I'm playing my guitar. It's all a bit random. But I'll leave my Twitch link down below. I've also got a Discord group, which I've been running for a few months now, which is just like a messenger a messenger group. So if you use Discord or Twitch, both those links will be down below. Yeah, and I just find it much more interactive than YouTube or other forums or Vaughan Live or anything. Like we can play sort of games. I know it sounds a bit funny, but you know, sometimes I stream for 5 or 6 hours, and sometimes we play games where the audience can be in the game. I know it might sound a bit confusing to some people, but it's a much more interactive stream than you usually can get on YouTube. And most of the time I'll upload it to YouTube anyway, and I feel safer doing live streams on Twitch than YouTube because of a lot of the rules. If some song comes on in the background, I can fix that up on Twitch before anything happens, whereas YouTube I can get pinged nearly you know, before I finish the video sometimes. So it's just a bit safer for me. There will be times I will go live on YouTube as well, but most of my streams where it's talking and a little bit of carry on and drinks and music and stuff will all now be on Twitch. Speaking of which, this beer t-shirt you can get on Twitch. This was just a test. This was just just knock something over. This was just a test shirt and a quick design I made up just to test their print. I like it. It's a very thin, soft shirt, but the print turned out okay. And on my Twitch channel down below, it's you can see the link for this. I think it's Stream Elements that prints this one. Well, all my other t-shirts, by the way, are still available on all the other platforms. You'll always find the link in the description. So if you do have any questions about these diversion plates, I don't know, I might be one of the only ones that's used it, you know, 6 or 7 times, besides the guys that are testing it in the factory. So if you've got any questions, just let me know. Oh, I will give you a tip about the 65 litre. Apparently some guys in the factory asked for the false bottoms to be tighter. Now I found mine extremely tight. But and that's why they've sort of got 2 rings to help pull it out. One on the side, one in the middle. You pull the one on the side first, but when it's cold, I found I nearly have to bend it in half to get it out. That's how tight it is. A lot of people will be happy to hear that. You can't, you pull it up in the middle at all. And then when you're doing it down here, it nearly bends in half. I just can't get it. But I found warm at the end of the brew day. I was doing a live brew day. I said, "Oh, you watch this. I'm not going to be able to get this out. It's so hard." And it was covered in hot hops and you know, proteins and leftover trub, all that sort of stuff. And it came straight out. I looked for gloves for 10 minutes. All right, got me gloves because I nearly cut my finger off. I trying to pull it out when my hands were wet on the cleaning. But once it was warm, it popped straight out. So just be aware of that. That if you're really struggling, throw a little bit of water in and warm it up and it might pop out easier. And that's got nothing to do with the bottom plate at all. It's just that this fits in really tight. I think some people said theirs used to float up during the boil. I've never seen that in any of mine. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I've never seen it happen. As I said, any questions, just ask. Big thank you to my patrons. Without them, these videos could not happen. There's hundreds of videos on my Patreon. I try and put up at least an extra one a week. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. It's just the way it is. It's more to support this channel, and it really, really helps. But you also get extra stuff because I think I just should do that. All the usual, hit the subscribe button and the like button. It really helps us. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really, really helps us. I've got to get to kegging. I've got to wash 4 kegs. I've got the double batch of Pilsner here from my live stream. I have it was another step mash test on the 35 litre pale ale I made. If anyone watched that, that's getting kegged today. And the Irish Red from the live stream last week has finished fermenting. I'm just leaving it a couple of days before I cold crash it, and I will keg that. So it's going to be 4 kegs full of beer I have here. I might have to have a keg party. Who's coming over? All right, take it easy. Much love to you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.